Hello, I'm Mayor Joyce Downing. Welcome to Northglenn Now, all about what's new in Northglenn. My guests today are Northglenn Police Chief Jim May and Don Mosley, Executive Director for the Ralston House. Thank you so much for being here today. Don, let's start with you. Can you please explain what the Ralston House is?
The Ralston House is the Child Advocacy Center for the 1st and 17th Judicial Districts. That's Jefferson and Gilpin counties and Adams and Broomfield County. And we're a unique organization in that the public doesn't come to us. It's police, social services, district attorney's offices who refer kids to us. And who they refer are kids who have been suspected of being either sexually abused, physically abused, or have witnessed a violent crime of some sort. Our staff provide police with what we call forensic interviews, and basically these are interviews of the kids that are non-traumatizing but help the children talk about what has happened to them, get all the information they can from the children about that crime without leading or putting any words into those children's mouths. Those interviews are filmed so that police can use those, social services, and if it goes to court, both defense and prosecuting attorneys can have those tapes to be able to watch what that child had to say, what that happened to them. While those interviews are going on, police and social services and prosecutors watch from another room so they can hear directly while it's going on what happens. We provide pediatric sex assault examinations. These are medical exams to make sure that kids who have been suspected of being sexually assaulted are physically okay, that we can talk to those kids about what's happened to their body and make sure that they understand that they're going to be able to recover from this. And these exams are not traumatic for the child, and generally we don't find any injuries. Very seldom do these kind of assaults result in injuries, but we need to test for STDs, we need to make sure those kids are physically okay, and we need to reassure them that they're going to be physically okay. In some cases, we may find evidence, but that's not the main reason we do the exams. Police, social services have these kids come in to get the exams to make sure they're okay. Finally, we provide victim advocacy to make sure that kids and parents are okay. We're going to talk to them about what's going to happen next. Is this going to go to court? What will happen if it goes to court? How can I get my child therapy? How can I make sure they get therapy? Maybe I and my family need therapy. They're going to make sure that they get into therapy, that they understand what the next steps are, and can follow them through the whole process, and those families can call them at any time. And we're going to make sure when that child leaves the interview, when they walk out of Ralston House, that they're doing okay. Those are the 3 services we provide for law enforcement, social services, and the prosecutor's office, and for families who come into Ralston House.
Chief May, we are building a new Ralston House in Northglenn. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, actually, we reached out to Don and the Ralston House, 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. And we were researching a new child, we need a new child advocacy center, someone to run it. And we still had our facility in our city. Don came out and worked with 17th Judicial, which is all of Broomfield and Adams County, the chiefs and social services and the DA's office. And we were looking at it, and as the numbers started coming in from 17th Judicial, I think it became real apparent really fast that our site wasn't big enough. We only have 1 interview room at that facility, and Jeffco has our Arvada site and Lakewood site. They have 3 interview rooms plus 2 medical rooms, and so the overflow in it, we were talking that we probably surpassed Jeffco's numbers by 2017, but I think we're already there with the numbers. So our facility is undersized, and we've known that for a couple of years. So we started getting all the Adams County and Broomfield County jurisdictions together to try to really push towards a new facility. So, and it's taken us a little while to get there, but we are close. We have an architect on board now trying to come up with, total costs and everything else that we're going to roll out to all the jurisdictions. So I'm really excited that it's finally going to be built, and it's really needed, unfortunately.
Jim, tell me a little bit, why is the Ralston House so near and dear to your heart?
Well, being in this business for as long as I have, I can't think of a worse crime than sexual abuse on a child. The trauma that victim's going to have the rest of their life. And it's so important to have a first point of their first contact is so important, you know, with the Ralston House and the interviewers and the victim advocates and everything, and that's that first step of healing. And that's why it's so important. You know, we need to get them help early, you know, make sure they understand it's not their fault, and so they can, you know, that's like innocence lost, you know, and we have to do our best to make sure that their life from that point on resembles somewhat of normalcy.
Don, how do children that have experienced physical or sexual abuse or have witnessed a crime, how do they find their way to the Ralston House?
Well, when they make an outcry in whatever way that comes to a teacher, a coach, or a family member, and it's reported to police or social services, instead of them going to a police station or social services, police and social services arrange interviews at Ralston House. Or maybe it goes directly to a prosecutor's office. It would come into Ralston House. So it is through those three agencies that children come into Ralston House. This year, they will refer over 1,200 kids to be interviewed. 70% of those kids will be kids who have been sexually abused. 15% will be kids who have been severely physically abused or long-term tortured by someone who was supposed to take care of them. The other 15% of kids are kids who have watched someone hurt, maybe domestic violence, maybe watched a caretaker murder one of their siblings, or they've seen a burglary or a homicide. Those are the kids police are referring to us, that social services are referring to us. If the public calls and says, oh, I think I should have my child interviewed, we're going to refer them back to police because they're thinking some kind of crimes occurred. We want it to go through police. So when that child tells their story at Ralston House, they don't have to tell it 3 or 4 more times. They tell it once, it's police, social services watch it, it's recorded, so that they're only having to tell it that one time.
Okay, thank you. The Ralston House is a nonprofit organization, so could you tell me how it's supported and funded?
Like all nonprofits, various ways. We certainly get grants, but a good portion of our support, we depend on the public, whether that's through corporate donations, individual donations, or maybe one of our special events. We have a 0.5K race that we do during the summer that in both Lakewood and Arvada, which is 0.5, literally 3 blocks to run to raise funds for kids. We have Pinwheel Project. Maybe people saw pinwheels around Northglenn or other parts of Adams County. Those pinwheels were to represent kids who have been hurt by someone and is a representation of their healing, and people can sponsor pinwheel gardens through that. We also participate in Colorado Gives Day, where the whole state in December picks a day to give. And there may be various small special events throughout the year that people can also participate in. But a lot is just individuals sending donations to us or volunteering.
So help me a little bit. How can we help keep the community safe?
There's a couple different ways. One is by supporting us in whatever way you do that, whether it's donations, getting the word out that Ralston House exists, that there is help for children. One of the ways we're asking the community to help is ask us to come out and give your community group a presentation. We do these presentations for free. They're on how perpetrators go about committing these crimes and the rules and things you can do within your organization to keep kids safe. This is good for schools, for sports teams, for churches, for rec centers, any of those agencies. And we will do these presentations for free, evenings, weekends, days, anytime, because the more people can learn about how to keep kids safe, how perpetrators are going to go about committing these crimes, the safer they can keep kids, and the less we'll have to see. If we didn't have to see 1,200 kids, that would be great. If we got down to 500, I would be very happy.
Thank you so much. Chief, when is the new Ralston House, when is that expected to be open?
Well, we're in the, like I said, process of gaining those partnerships with the other 9 jurisdictions in, like I said, Adams and Broomfield County. And looking for also other funding to reduce that, that cost, looking at grants and everything else, and where we can get that squared away. But if it all works out, I'm hoping to break ground next year. So hopefully in the building in 2018.
Thank you, Chief May and Don, for coming today and talking about the Ralston House and how important it is not only to the kids but to the community. And thank you for watching Northglenn Now.